Now, don't go rushing away just yet, because we've got more customization that we can look at. And there are some things called shell options. And some of these can be really useful, and you may want to be considering these. Another really useful feature that we might want, similar to using our alias for copy, is to preventing existing files being overwritten with redirection. Look at this. If I go through and run an ls-l on my etc and hosts file, and I can redirect with the overwrite option through to the file called hosts. Now that file already existed, but again, there was no warning. I've now blasted the contents of that file. So as I look in my host file, instead of having my host entries, now I know this is my own host file, but now I've just got the output of the listing of the etc host file. That's really amazing, isn't it? But it's a little bit like the copy command. We can specify to have a warning if we're trying to overwrite an existing file. So this would be a really useful option to set. So if I set this with set -o, and the option is amusingly called no clobber, I don't want to clobber existing files. With set -o, we're turning the option on. I can also use the set -o to read my options, and I can see that no clobber is currently turned on. Bizarrely, to turn it off, we have set +o, no clobber. So it almost seems a little bit back to front. But if I go through now and take a look with set -o, we can see that no clobber is turned off. Well, that's not the setting that we want. We want it turned on. So I'm going to go back to set -o, no clobber, Control and L to move it to the top of the screen, double check now by trying to redirect, and it's not allowing me to redirect over that. But then you might say, well, what happens if you do want to overwrite it? Well, they allow for that as well. But then we have to override the safety switch by using the redirector and the vertical bar, the pipe. So this is really something that is very practical and easy to implement, and a nice safety switch. But if we want this implemented persistently, let's go through and edit our login script. I'm going to reference it as tilde/.bashrc. Now, I know I'm in my home directory, but we also know that if I use tilde/.bashrc, we know this is going to work from anywhere. Opening up my file, I'm going to drop to the bottom of the file using uppercase G, and then use lowercase o to insert a new line. So we're adding a new line after export, and I'm typing the same command as we used from the command line, set -o, no clobber. If we're happy with that, then let's hit escape, colon, and exit, and we're able to save our file. With the file saved, we can log out, and you know we can use Control and D for that. We also know that I can just hit enter to log back in again with my SSH client. And now when I go through and look at set -o, we can additionally see now that no clobber is turned on. So again, we're protecting overwriting of existing files. So we've been able to see how we can customize our shell environment by making use of variables, by making use of aliases, and then shell options.